In this video, I want to show you how to solve system of equation by elimination. The overall goal is to try to get the coefficients of one of the variables to be equal in absolute value. So you want the absolute value of the coefficient to be the same, to be equal, but opposite in sign. You want the sign to be different. So right now, if I want to eliminate any variable from this, one of the variables from this equation, I will have to get this coefficient, this 6, to be equal. I have to get the coefficient of the other x to be exactly 6, but opposite in sign. So that means I would like to get this variable coefficient to be negative 6x. All right, that is what I'm trying to explain here with this sentence there. Or if that does not work, it's too much work for me, I would like to get, I already have a negative 5 for the variable, for the coefficient of the variable y. Then I need to try to make the other coefficient, to try to make it plus 5y, so that they are both, the absolute value is the same, which should be 5, but the sign will be different. See, I want them to be the same absolute value, but the sign should be different. The purpose is that when they are the same absolute value but opposite in sign, when you add them together, they will go to 0. Okay, so that's what we are trying to do. Let's get on to this particular problem now. So the more efficient choice for me will be to make the absolute value of the second equation here, the absolute value of the coefficient of x to be the same, because I already have 6. Then it will be easier for me to just get this one, the other one, equation 2, to have negative 6. So all I need to do is to multiply every single term here by 6. Because whatever I do to the left, I do to the right, it does not alter the overall balance of the equation. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to keep the first equation. I'm going to keep it like that. 6x minus 5y equals negative 23. But I'm going to multiply every term of the second equation by 6. So it will be negative 6x minus 6y equals 13 times 6. Let me see my calculator. 13 times 6. 13 times 6 is 78. So that will give me 78 over here. Now, by adding these two equations together, I will get the x variables to disappear. The x variable will be eliminated. That's why it's called by the elimination method. That will leave me only with one variable, which is the y variable. When I add them together, it will be negative 11y equals, if I subtract 23 from 78, that will give me 78 minus 23 will give me 55. So 55. So now I can divide both sides by negative 11. And y will be negative 5. Okay, once I have my value for y, I can just go ahead and plug it into one of the equations. So I will use the second equation. So I'm going to plug it into the second equation like this. So I will have negative x minus negative 5 equals 13. So that negative x plus 5 equals 13, and subtract 5 from both sides will give me negative x equals 8, and so x will be negative 8. So the final solution to this system will be negative 8 comma negative 5, and that is the final solution to that. Here is another example in which I have to make a decision between eliminating x or eliminating y. In this case, I will have to do something to both equations, because there's no way I can multiply one equation by a number to get the coefficient to be the same. It's not possible. So I will have to do something to both equations. Unlike the other one, unlike this one, which I only did something to this, I only did something, modify the second equation. Here, I have to modify both equations. As is obvious from here, it's easier to try to get the y coefficient to be the same in absolute value. So I already have -3 here. So if I multiply everything here by 2, that will give me -6y, okay? -6y. And then in order to get this one to +6y, the second one, I have to multiply by 3. Multiply by 3. Multiply by 3. So the new set of equations will look like this. 10x, sorry. Minus 6y equals -46. And then -9x plus 6y equals 39. So now if I add them together, I will get all the x's cancel out. I mean, not cancel out, sorry about that. It's the y that will cancel out. The x would add up to be x. The 10x minus 9x is just x, but the y's will cancel out. So, and then I will have 46, -46 minus plus 39 will give me -7. So x is -7. And now I can plug this in onto the other equation. One of the equations. So let's remove all this multiplication thing. I want to use the second one. You could use any one really, so it doesn't matter. So I want to plug in -7 for x. So -3 times -7 plus 2y equals 13. 21 plus 2y equals 13. Subtract 21 from both sides. So 2y equals, if you do 21 minus 13, will be -8. And then divide both sides by 2. So y will be -4. So the final solution to this equation will be -7 and -4. All right. Here is a final example in which the signs don't come opposite. They are both the same. Look, the second one, they have opposite signs in the coefficients, but here they both have -9 and -4, and then +3 and +7. So what we can do is to make sure that when we do our multiplication, one of our multiplier will be a negative, the other one will be a positive. Whatever we're multiplying by will be positive and negative. So let's try to do that. The easiest thing I want to do, that is better to do, is to get the 3 and the 7 converted to the same number but opposite. Absolute value the same but opposite. So I can multiply this one by 7. By 7, and then multiply this one by -3 times -3, so that I will end up with a positive 21y and a negative 21y. That's the idea. So I can add them together, they will go away. All right, so let's do that. So we're going to multiply by 7. So 7 times -9 will give us -63x. 7 times 3 will be plus 21y, and 7 times 3 is 21. And then -3 times -4 is positive 12, not negative. Sorry about that. So that will be 12x. And then minus 21y when you multiply that by that. And then 24 times 3 is 72, will be a -72. Now I'm ready to add them together. So this will cancel. And then I'll do negative 63 plus 12. Negative 63 plus 12 will give me negative 51. Negative 51 x. Negative 51x equals, if I do 72 minus 12 will give me also minus 21, sorry. 72 minus 21 will give me 51. So that will be 51, negative 51. So I can divide by negative 51 by negative 51. So x will be equal to 1. So x equals 1. So now the last step is to plug in x into one of the equations. So I want to plug it into the top one. So with negative 9 times 1 plus 3y equals 3. Negative 9 plus 3y equals 3. And now I can add 9 to both sides. So 3y equals 12 divided by 3, y equals 4. So the solution to the system is 1, 4. And that's how you solve systems by using the elimination method.